And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Are you getting used to getting up this early, Troy?
No, I'm not. I'm up this early. I'm not operational at this early, if that makes sense. But it's good to be here.
Are you a coffee drinker?
I am not. Never had a cup of coffee in my life.
Do you enjoy soda loaded with caffeine? Maybe like a Jolt, which is old school. I don't know if you can still find it. Maybe at an antique store.
Yeah, I gave up caffeine through soda, 9 years ago, because I was abusing Red Bull and Diet Mountain Dew. So I haven't had a soda since 2017. That and I gave up all that stuff, 5-hour energy, because I wasn't getting a bump from it. So I drink tea. Tea's about as much as I'll go at this point in my life.
Maybe you need to go to a caffeine support group, and when you use the word bump, that has a lot of different meanings. With that, I want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and Parker. It is everything that a sports bar should be. An outstanding menu for starters. Their burgers are great, wings, all different types of sauces. Love their appetizers, whether it's the cheese curds, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. If you're into Brussels sprouts, they do really well there as well. It is a sports bar that was built by sports fans. Jeremy Johnson had an idea over 15 years ago, and now they have 3 locations, and all of them are rocking every day, including for lunch, because their menu is that good. Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and Parker. Time now for The Lead.
The Lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
He's fired his longtime friend and offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi. Wide receivers coach, Kerry Colbert, out as well. Cornerbacks coach, Addison Lynch, he is out as well. There have been multiple reports that Lombardi's firing had nothing to do with Davis Webb being up for the Raiders job. And by the way, the Bills job is now filled. So the Broncos will do a full search for a new offensive coordinator. Does any of this surprise you at all?
A little bit with Joe Lombardi, because he's been Sean Payton's top lieutenant for 15 years. They have a long-standing relationship. But the reality is their offense hasn't performed up to expectations the last couple of years. Lombardi has the title of offensive coordinator, and he's got 3 potential offensive coordinators on staff in Davis Webb, Zach Streep, and Pete Carmichael. So there was kind of this feeling with Joe was great to deal with, but it was kind of like, what do you do here? What is your total job? And I think he got caught in that vortex of they'd like to keep Davis Webb, and they need to change, and they need something to kind of click with the run game. So Lombardi's out. I was not surprised the receivers coach was fired, because Payton has been grousing about drops all year. And when he started showing us yesterday how to do thumbs up, thumbs down on a proper catching fundamental, the receiver coach was gone the second he said that publicly. Cornerbacks coach is weird. I'm not sure what that was about. If it was just a show, it wasn't about the offense. Who knows with Payton. But Lombardi, it's only surprising because of the relationship, Eric. I mean, when you look at it, what does Joe really do? And so this next coordinator, is that person going to have more involvement in the game plan? Is he going to get to call the 2-minute drives during the game? How are they going to change this? Because Sean's not giving up play calling, but is he going to give up a little bit? Even Andy Reid gives up some of it to Eric Bieniemy. So what does it look like going forward, and what must he do if it means keeping Davis Webb? I don't know the answer to that yet, but Lombardi becomes, if not a fall guy, certainly a little bit of a scapegoat for an underperforming offense.
I'll ask this from a layman's fan's perspective, not to say that fans are layman's. Sean Payton said yesterday he doesn't have any problems going for it on 4th down. He had a problem with the play call. Who do you think called the play?
He did.
Oh, got it. Now, if Sean calls the plays and it's his offense, what was Joe Lombardi doing?
Yeah, we've talked about that for weeks. And I think one of Sean's blind spots is not having someone on the headset that can be, Sean, don't do that. Sean, don't do that. Sean, do this. And he doesn't really have that. There's an exchange of information, but it's not a democracy. Sean's making the play calls. He takes suggestions from some of the analytic people, But at the end of the day, he doesn't have like the old sage in the corner. Like, for instance, if Bill Parcells were on his staff, Eric, and Parcells told him, kick the damn field goal, I would say 100% he kicks the field goal. And that's where I think he could benefit from having someone like that. Because Kubiak had that relationship with Shanahan, don't you think?
Yeah.
Don't you think Mike trusted Gary if he told him in a situation? I think he did. I don't know that Sean's ever had that, and he doesn't have it here.
Yeah, but I think there's a difference. I think that Shanahan would listen to Kubiak. I don't think that Sean's going to win any trophies for listening to others.
He's not.
So
everything that makes him great, though, is becomes a weakness for him. Everything that allows him to be in control, in charge, establish a culture, set a tone for a building, that power can also work against him in situations like this, where he's a bit on an island and no one has the kind of the power to say to him, Sean, don't do it. Don't do it.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, he needs someone to say no to him, but he really doesn't listen to anybody. That doesn't jive with me, and that's trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. So that's his job. I know he does more than that. I get it. But on game day, he needs somebody to tell him no. Really? That's the job description when, generally speaking, he's going to do what he wants to anyway?
Well, he might not now at this age and with the Super Bowl in sight. Like, this is the point where can he evolve and change slightly? We can't argue with his success. I mean, these people that are saying, oh, my God, Sean Payton, it's miserable. Did you watch Nathaniel Hackett? Read my column today about it in the Denver Post. They were at the worst they've been, other than maybe Josh McDaniels when he took over. And they won 15 games. So you can't argue with the way he does it. It's in big games. He coaches tight. He coaches reckless. Like, he alternates between it because he doesn't have that person, in my belief, that can say, Sean, what are we doing here? Kick the damn field goal. Like, that's, but to your point, Eric, that has been the job description of the person we just talked about, to just sit there and give ideas and not care if they're accepted. If they're able to keep Davis Webb, I would think Davis would get some responsibility, whether he gets to call more involvement in the game plan, more input literally in live time. I think that because he's up for now the Ravens, he's up for like 5 jobs outside of the Raiders head coaching job. So to keep him, there's no way he's going to come back just status quo. You're going to have to give him something. And Davis needs on his resume calling plays. So do you give him, again, the one I would look to, Andy Reid does it with Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy gets to call like the 2-minute drill sometimes. He gets to call plays during the game sometimes. But he does call some plays. And that's what Webb would need to do. And I think it could benefit Sean Payton to have someone at this point of his career where the last thing left is a Super Bowl. He could benefit from tweaking how he's doing business on game day.
Okay, so let's say and they're going to do a full search on this.
Well, they have to abide by the Rooney Rule. So there's going to be multiple interviews. That's part of it. And I know people roll their eyes at it. I get it. But that's part of it. They have to abide by the Rooney Rule. But Davis Webb's not suddenly today going to be named the offensive coordinator. That's not going to happen.
I don't know the way Nick Sirianni works in terms of how controlling he is compared to Sean Payton. I don't know the same thing about Harbaugh either. And when you look at the other offensive coordinator job that is open with the Ravens, I don't know how that is going to work either. What would be the best choice for Webb? Working with Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, working with John Harbaugh and Jackson Dart. He's got his own problems running the ball too much, or working with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. If he is guaranteed play calling with all 3 of those teams, why in the world would he stay with the Broncos if Sean is not going to say you get full control, and if things go south, I'm still not going to take it away from you?
Well, I think he's got a little bit of loyalty to Sean for giving him his first chance. He's seen how he creates a culture. He's seen what it looks like to turn a program around. These are all things he's going to probably incorporate when he becomes a head coach eventually. So there's part of that. But to your point, Eric, it wouldn't be the Eagles. I mean, Sirianni's getting fired after next year if they don't turn it around. And Jalen Hurts is not the easiest guy to work with by all accounts. He can be a little bit difficult, and you're dealing with divas and A.J. Brown. That's not a great job, which sounds crazy to say because they're coming off a Super Bowl. But their offense was horrible last year, and now you would be like their fourth coordinator in 5 years. The obvious answer, it's not Harbaugh. Jackson Dart is a nice player until he can learn to stay out of the blue tent. Stop. And he's just a nice player until he shows me he can play with more composure in the pocket. The obvious job is the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, no matter what you think of him, he's an MVP, and you have Derrick Henry. That's where you want to go. I mean, it's a little weird because of the way Lamar runs an offense, but Webb he's familiar with the air raid. He's familiar with RPO. Like, that would be the place. If he has a chance to go to the Ravens and Mentor says, you're my guy and you're calling everything, I'm with you, Eric. I don't know how he could say no to that, because you go and win there, or even if you go to the playoffs, Davis Webb's a head coach next year. There'd be no doubt in my mind.
If Davis Webb gets the head coaching job with the Raiders, and it is my understanding through people who I've talked to, Clint Kubiak is the choice.
Correct.
But I'm not so sure Clint Kubiak wants to go there.
Yeah.
But let's say, for the sake of argument, Davis Webb goes to another team as an OC. But bottom line is, he is not the head coach. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being absolutely no doubt about it, just closed on a house, or 1, I just went to the U.S. Post Office and got my change of address cards. What are the chances Vance Joseph is back next year as the defensive coordinator?
As of yesterday, from people I talked to, it was extremely high that he will be back.
Okay.
I will never say never in this business because stuff gets weird, but I asked specifically about him with 2 different sources, and because it was told, like, you could tell there was more coming after the press conference, and I was like, man, what's going on with Vance? And all indications from multiple sources are that he will be back. Leonard could go. I mean, there's still a possibility Jim Leonard leaves.
Right.
And I will say this, there's a little bit of a misconception. They're not as high internally on Leonard as everyone thinks they are. This idea of, let Vance go because of Jim Leonard. I'm not saying he wouldn't have ultimately be the defensive coordinator. What I'm saying is it wouldn't be a slam dunk. So if Leonard leaves, I would make it even less likely Vance would leave. But as of yesterday, Eric, I was told that Vance is staying. Now, again, could that change with Davis leaving? Certainly it could. I would be surprised if Vance would leave to the Raiders with his other opportunity to coach this defense one more year. Like that was because the Raiders are a long way away. And then if you go to the Raiders, if you're Vance, you're conceding you're not going to be a head coach for 2 or 3 years.
Right. All right, let's dig into yesterday's press conference with Payton and Paton. A lot of news coming out of it. Let's start with Bo Nix's broken ankle, in which Sean said that this was a pre-existing condition. It would have broken at some point. Considering Nix is an excellent runner, how much do you think Payton is going to game plan differently for Nix so he doesn't have to risk further injury and then break that ankle 4 times?
Yeah, well, it's not the same ankle every time.
It might be in a different spot,
no,
but it's all the right ankle.
No, it's not. It's 2 on one, 1 on the other. We researched this the night it happened.
Okay.
It's not 3 in the same ankle. So that needs to, we've reported that multiple times. It's not 3 in the same ankle. And I think, Eric, to answer your question, you got to see what he looks like, right? Why would you make a proclamation now for the kid who's in his 20s to say, we're just not going to run anymore?
No, I didn't say they're not going to run. I would say they are going to be more careful with him.
They couldn't have been more careful last year. They only called like 10 RPOs for him all season. Payton is convinced that he's Drew Brees 2.0. He wants him in the pocket. They didn't run much. I mean, I called for them to run all year. They don't run him. And he protects himself. And that injury did not, in fairness to Bo Nix, if you watch the replay, that had nothing to do with him running the football. He turned his ankle. Yeah. Like that wasn't like, he was in harm's way. And like when you watch Jackson Dart run, you're like, oh my God, he's like diving into piles. Like you're going to get hurt that way. So I think you're cognizant of it and you have to allow the symptoms to be very present in your mind. What does he look like? Is he having apprehension with it? Because if he is, that's something you have to be aware of as a play caller. Because if he's is he wanting to turtle? Is he acting different? You know this, Eric. You've covered pro sports longer than I have. As soon as you play tentative and try to protect yourself is usually when you get hurt.
Right.
So I would turn it on you and say, what kind of quarterback is Bo Nix if suddenly you make him play left-handed, which is to take away his feet? Don't you think that would be a mistake if they start making those proclamations? Because Bo, to me, without his feet, that's a different quarterback.
Right. It's an instinct thing in the moment. And you don't want to be thinking about your ankle when you're trying to get a first down. And to your point, you're a longtime baseball beat writer. You've been around baseball for a long time. You know as well as anyone, if you have a shoulder problem as a pitcher and you try and favor it, suddenly you blow out your elbow. That kind of stuff does happen. You just don't want Nix thinking about it. I can't imagine that he will be. And you mentioned the number of RPOs that they run, but he is a weapon out there. And now you have basically taken with the world we're living in today, please don't take this literally, you are taking a couple of bullets out of his gun in order to hurt you. And I don't think you want him necessarily as a pocket quarterback, but certainly you don't want him as a running quarterback either. You don't want to turn him into Jaden Daniels. Patrick Mahomes is not a running quarterback, but he can move and pick up yards in key moments. That's the type of runner that you want.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to finish still with 400 yards rushing, whether that's just all on scrambles, a handful of RPOs. But if you take that away, you're talking about a guy 2 years ago, Eric, got timed at 22 miles per hour running the football. He ran the 400 meters in high school. If they did a race on the Broncos, I'm telling you, he wouldn't be long before when you did the fastest Broncos, you wouldn't go far down that list before you reach Nix.
What you're saying is, like in basketball, Nix has enough speed where he'd be breaking ankles out there.
Exactly. I think he'll be fine. But if he's favoring it, you have to be cognizant of that because he is your quarterback. He's not your running back. And some of this would solve itself, Eric, if they ran the damn football better. And that's something Payton talked about is they're going to do a research and a point of emphasis on why they don't run the ball yesterday. Because I asked him about the call upon reflection, and he said he regrets the play call, not the decision, doesn't give a shit about the criticism. And you could tell he was pissed that the reason the call got screwed up is because I don't trust our running game. I would say that's
I don't know what kind of podcast work you're doing, Troy, okay? And if you think it's acceptable to say the word shit on this show, you can't. You can say fuck, but you cannot say shit on this show. Very nice segue into Payton talking about the running game, saying it's one of the key things that they have to do to fix during the offseason. So with that, how do they fix it? Is it the draft? Is it free agency? Is it scheme? You got a fourth choice? Hit A, B, and C, or is it D, all of the above?
Well, last year, if you remember, they were going to incorporate more of the zone blocking scheme. None of that happened.
No.
It looked like crap in training camp, and they basically junked it early in the season. They hired Chris Morgan. They hired a guy specifically to teach it, and they basically didn't run it because it wasn't working. So for me, it is scheme related. What are you? How are you going to attack the run game? Because they got into a mismatch of spending a lot of time in April and May and June and July of trying to incorporate the wide zone scheme and the part of those elements. And they got it early in the season. We're like, yeah, we're not doing that. They never said that, but I'm just telling you the film tells you that. So that's number one. Who are you? What is your run attack? Number two is I would bring back J.K. Dobbins but I'm going to have him as a 1A, 1B, or even my 1B. If it's not him, you've got to bring in someone to challenge R.J. Harvey. Because for me, I said he was I-70. He was an east and west guy all year, and J.K. was I-25. He's north and south. And R.J. Harvey has got to learn that if he's going to be the back. And I move on from Jaleel McLaughlin and Tyler Bidet. Tyler Bidet was to the screen game what Andre Iguodala was to three-pointers for the Nuggets.
Wow.
I have never seen a guy less productive in a role than Bidet was and stay in the role the entirety of a season. I don't know him personally. Nothing personal. I'm just saying that play, the screenplay to Bidet, take it, burn it, put it in a box, and then bury it under the field house and never speak of it again. But it changed personnel. What did you see from those guys that makes you think you could bring the room back? Obviously Harvey's coming back. That's a non-starter.
Right.
Are you bringing Dobbins back?
That's a good question. This is how I would approach J.K. Dobbins. I would not bring him back right away. I would see my options in free agency. I would see my options in the draft. Then I would make a decision. Teams were not jumping all over J.K. Dobbins this past offseason. And now that he was injured again, whatever couple of teams were interested, they may not be interested this upcoming season because, unfortunately, his body has failed him.
Right.
At this point in his career. You know, he's not reliable to be on the field, although when he is on the field, he is terrific. It's wonderful to hear that he looks at himself as a Bronco. But you have to say to JK, if you are George or Sean, with all due respect to you, we want you back on this team. We hope you understand that the injury situation has plagued you your entire career. I'm sure you and your agent are going to be shopping around your services. We need to look at the draft. We need to look at free agency. It doesn't mean we don't want you back. It means we don't want your injuries back that you don't have any control over. I would not sign him right away. Listen, it could be a June signing. And if he does, and like in business, you say to him, if he's open to him, if you get an offer from another team, please give us the right of first refusal.
Right. And he might. He loved playing there. He loved, and they did miss him in the room. Like that, I know people roll their eyes at this stuff. He was an energy guy in the room. He had an edge to him because offensively, they've lacked that from personality. Even Bo, you see it on the field, but he's not, he doesn't have, the Peyton Manning razor's edge. He's got some of it, and maybe it'll continue to develop as his career goes on. JK had it. He was the guy talking smack in practice.
Right.
He was the guy giving it to guys in the locker room, and they missed it when he wasn't there. But they're going to want a multi-year deal. Why wouldn't he? And I'm with you. That to me, that's a non-starter. We love you. There's no way we're not going to set your market for you. And this year's different. What hurts him, which I hate for the player, you can wait until June because he knows the offense now. Last year it came with risk when you bring in someone that late and they miss the entire offseason. Now he knows the offense. I mean, he knows it. So you have that advantage. I would go to him and say, you're going to have like a 1 year, $2.5, $3 million deal on the table. You've got it for us. Shop it. And to your point, Eric, I think he liked being there enough, at least publicly he said that, to where, hey, if you get more, if you get something, bring it to us and we'll see if we can do something. But if he tries to do that before the draft specifically, I don't think they'll bite. No. Because it's just, and that's every team. The running back position is just not viewed. It's viewed as almost a luxury in terms of free agents.
He doesn't have any leverage. He doesn't have any leverage to negotiate.
Right, because of the draft. It's the same thing with it. That's why a certain position, safety, running back, no one's looking to overpay early because they're like, well, let's see how the draft happens first. Right. But I would try to bring him back, but the idea for me this year was Harvey became the 1A clearly at the end of the year with Dobbins behind him because Dobbins can play on third down. He can play in the passing game. So it's not like, if a young guy comes in and beats him out, he has no use. He could then go into the role you were using Tyler Bidet. Now you're a better team for it. But Harvey's got to get better. Like there's just and some of that might be scheme. He's young. I'm giving him some grace there, but he's got to get better. His average per carry, Eric, when Dobbins left was roughly like under 3 for the last 7 games. Like that's not a starting running back. They ran Javonte Williams out of town because he was under 4. Now you got a guy under 3. Dobbins was 5.7 in the second halves of games. That's the guy you missed.
Right.
That's the guy you missed, especially against the Patriots.
Coming up after the break, George Paton says the Broncos will now be aggressive in free agency now that Russell Wilson's contract is fully off the books. But before we have this conversation about, being aggressive, what does that mean? Who do they look for? They have one key position group that they have to make a big decision on. I have a feeling which way they are leaning on this. So before we say who are they going to be shopping for, we need to look at some of the guys and say, are these guys coming back? That's next.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a pair of snowmobiles or nearly $18,000 in cash the weekend of February 20th. It's your choice what you want, the 2 snowmobiles or the cash. Earn daily entries with every locked-up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
And welcome back. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Want to tell you about Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. I've worked with them a number of times. We had a hot water heater that went out. Showers were brutally cold. They were out at our home that day. It was fixed that day. We had a problem with our furnace. It wasn't working. They came out that day. It was fixed that day. And oh, by the way, since everybody watching, I'm guessing are sports fans, if the name Ferguson means something to you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, Terrence Ferguson, well, he's the son of Dawn and Cody. So we got some football, some serious football on the show with the Fergusons. Ferguson's Heating and Cooling, they are the best. Check them out at fergusonheatingandcooling.com. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
George Paton made it clear Broncos will be, quote, aggressive in free agency this offseason. They have the cap room with the dead money leaving with Russell Wilson's contract. Let's start with this. Give me a quick yes or no. Bringing back JFM. To me, that's an absolute no, not that they don't want him back. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, his market is – they're not going to pay everyone, and unfortunately he has priced himself out of the Broncos defense because of his own excellent play, so he will not be back.
And that's really a good thing for the Broncos when you look at compensatory picks, but that's another conversation for another day. We've already chatted about Dobbins, but now let's look at the middle of that defense with Singleton and Stranad. It is my understanding that Alex wants to get paid. I think that's a fair thing for him to want with the way that he has played. Let's see what happens with Justin Stranad. So with that, if both those guys walk out the door and you have an injured now, Dre Greenlaw, I'm sorry, with all due respect to Lavelle Bailey, They need an upgrade there. And to me, that's where either money should be spent or high draft capital should be spent. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think between Singleton and Sternad, one of those guys might be back. More likely Sternad than Singleton, probably given Singleton's age and what he's looking for in a contract. But, you know, if Vance stays as DC, that strengthens the chance Singleton returns. But I wouldn't rule out Sternad. Sternad was quietly a really solid player for them.
He was.
And has just really evolved over his career. So I think between Sternad and Singleton, one of them comes back. Greenlaw, it didn't work the way he was good in the run game. He was not the guy in pass pro, I thought. I think you got to think long and hard about the fit there, but it just would seem odd to bail after 1 year on that experiment. Like a second year in the defense, could he be better? But you're right, Eric. They're going to need another body there regardless. Whether you bring Greenlaw, Sternad back, just Sternad, whatever the case, that's got to be a point of emphasis this offseason addressing that position.
I mean, I don't know if they will keep Dre Greenlaw, but I don't think he helped his cause the other day when he stood up there and said, this is such a different system than what I had in San Francisco with Kyle Shanahan, and in so many words, and I'm embellishing just a wee bit here, if I can use my wife's, native tongue, wee bit, which is a little bit. I don't think he did himself any favors with Sean Payton when he basically said, Sean works us to death, and I'm just not used to this.
It was interesting, too, because Sean Payton was asked about that on Tuesday, and he said that, yes, the systems are different, and maybe he could look into giving Wednesdays off for veterans. Like, he didn't immediately say, well, that's our system, my way or the highway. So he created a little bit of cushion there in the argument that maybe Greenlaw had a point. That's why I'm are they going to give it a second chance to bring him back? But the problem is he going to be better in pass coverage? Like that, the reason you got him was for his versatility. They really didn't have issues with the run game at middle inside linebacker. The issue was wanting a guy who could cover. And he was really good at that a couple of years ago, and we just did not see that. So I don't know where it goes. It was a disappointing season for Greenlaw, mainly because of the health issue. But they're going to have to look long and hard about, is he going to get healthier? Was it a system of age? Like, what was it? Because it was just one thing after another with the quad and the hamstring and then the suspension. It wasn't a lost year. He was decent when he played. He just missed too many games.
You and I have now done a show and a half together. Generally speaking, we have agreed, and probably moving forward, we'll agree on a lot of things. And one of the reasons for me, this being a one-way street, I have such respect for your opinion and an educated opinion for the people that you talk to. But we might veer here like a fork in the road. Jaquan McMillan is going to be a restricted free agent. My understanding is this past offseason, they weren't that crazy. When I say they, I mean Sean wasn't that crazy about Jaquan McMillan. That is one of many reasons they drafted Jahdae Barron. Now, Jaquan is a restricted free agent. They have a decision to make. Do you just let him walk, or do you put a tender on him? And what type of tender do you put on him? Clearly, you're not going to put on a first-round tender and pay him $8 million. I understand that. A second-round tender is 5.5. At 5.5, he would be the 38th highest-paid cornerback in the league. Maybe I'm, smoking the blue and orange ganja. I think he's worth $5.5 million. I do. I don't know if another team will pick him up for a second-round draft pick. Or you can give him pretty much the lowest tender and where he was drafted, in which he wasn't. So that is 3.2, and I think there will be teams that pick him up for nothing for 3.2. What do you think will happen? What do you think the Broncos will do?
I mean, logic, if you watch the games, tells you keep him.
The guy's a baller. The guy, you know who he reminds me of? He reminds me of Shaq Barrett when he was here. Shaq Barrett did not put up huge numbers, but he always seemed to make plays at the right time, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what J-Mac does. When you need a big play last year, he was right in the center of it. He brings an edge. He brings attitude. He reminds me a lot of Chris Harris, a guy who was overlooked. I think Chris had better technique overall, was a little more versatile. Obviously, they can play inside, outside. But J-Mac has characteristics that are hard to find in a nickel corner. But other teams look at him and, oh, he's 5'9"-ish. You talked about the kid from Indiana. I watched that kid.
Pons is going to be a star in this league.
I mean, he's going to have issue on certain matchups because of the height, but he is such a good corner. And J-Mac's the same thing. You look at him and like, how is this guy going to play? And then you watch him and go, oh, I get it. He's incredibly aggressive, great instincts. He never gives up. I mean, he's got short memory because he can get burned and within the same game have 2 picks. Like, you just don't see modern corners like that anymore. But what's working against him, firmly working against him, is the draft pick of Jahdae Barron.
Yep.
Because Barron disappeared at the end of the year. Like, he was barely getting on the field. I did not like the pick when they made it. I wrote it in a column then. It was a luxury pick in the first round, and it was just, it's too much value to pass up. We had him as, our 10th guy on the board, and there he is at 20. I know, but you didn't need a corner. You needed a running back or a tight end, and it bore fruit that they did. But I do think they're going to make an attempt to keep him, but it's just going to get uncomfortable.
So what tender would you put on?
It has to be at second, right? If you want to keep him. If it's a third, he's gone. Any team would would go after him at a third. Like, why wouldn't you?
Well, there isn't a third.
What's that?
I don't believe there is a third. It goes from first, second, and then
right. That's what I mean.
You slot it where he was drafted, and he was undrafted.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So it's 3.2.
Yeah, if it's 3.2, he's gone.
Right.
20 teams would match that because that's just hard to find corners. They're like pitchers in football. I will say this: George Paton understands the value of a cornerback room.
Right.
And so he's not looking at it the way I am, where Barron's there, he's got to play goodbye J-Mac. I think in their vision before last season, that was clearly it. That you play this year out and then Jahdae starts. I didn't see that, Eric. If you're aiming for a Super Bowl, I don't know how you let that kid walk out the door. Now he might have one more year with you.
Yeah.
But that's the whole goal. Yesterday, Eric, the odds came out. They have the Broncos at only the 12th best odds. They're already getting disrespected. Can you afford, Eric, to let a guy like J-Mac walk out the door?
Well, let me ask you that.
Big plays. How many times when you think of big plays this year, how many times does that kid's name come into your vision? I mean, 2, 3, 4 times?
One thing that we are not addressing, though, is how much confidence do you have in Chris Abrams-Drain? Because if you do, and I like him too, now you have 4 corners. Okay, that there's depth there, right? And then you bring in somebody else that's not going to cost you a lot of money. But so do you want to bring in a guy who doesn't cost you a lot of money, maybe a draft pick, or pay 5.5, and then you have 5 corners?
Yeah, we're in agreement on this that they need to keep him for this year and just wear it for one more year. And then you can make tough decisions on Dre Greenlaw, Evan Ingram, some other guys on whether you eat the cap, deal with some dead money and bring in some younger players. I don't see how you can rationalize you're going to be better in terms of winning a Super Bowl or getting to one with Jahdae Barron next year taking over for J-Mac. Now, after next season, probably a pretty easy argument. I don't see it this year. I don't see it. The guy was clutch, and they know it in the room. You talk to defenders in that room, and they're just like, God damn, this guy. He's got a slow heartbeat, and he makes some huge plays. Not just the Buffalo play, folks. We're not talking about one play. This guy made plays consistently the entire season.
Depending on who you read and what you believe, the Broncos cap space right now is anywhere between 29 and 35 million.
Right.
How do they get more cap space? I'll give you one guy. You give me as many guys as you want. I'll give you one guy I think that's going to be a cap casualty, and it's going to save him about $9 million, and that is Ben Powers. He's $18 million on the books next year with roughly a $9 million cap hit. It's not that they don't want Ben Powers. I just don't think they want him at $18 million. Now, they could restructure him and free up some stuff. So I'll ask you and then give me your answer about a guy who could be a surprise cut. Do you think they either cut him and save the money or restructure him? Talking about Ben Powers.
I mean, if I had to guess right now, they move on and they move Alex Pachevsky to that spot. Powers has been good for him. not great, but good, solid, and until this year, completely healthy. He's everything you kind of want, but so you have a ready-made replacement at a way lower cost as you're trying to fill other needs. And they got a chance to see Palczewski at that spot, that luxury of seeing it in games, not trying to say, oh, what would it look like? They know what it looks like, and they liked it. So I would say if I had to guess today, they would move on from Powers and move Palczewski to that left guard spot.
So give me another guy who could be a casualty to create more cap space.
Well, you take a dead cap hit, but what are you going to do with Ingram? I mean, they
Honestly,
don't use him.
It's funny. I was thinking about this during commercial break, and I thought we would talk about this tomorrow. When you look at the 3 key free agents they brought in this past year,
2 could be gone.
Hufanga, Greenlaw, and Ingram. One was an A, one was a C, and one was an F. So much for being the Joker, because unfortunately, maybe they just didn't scheme well enough for Evan Ingram. Maybe has just lost a step. But at the end of the day, the joke was on Sean Payton for thinking that Ingram was the Joker, because he was absolutely non-existent, specifically from what we saw in training camp, where I think all of us had eyes like saucers thinking, my goodness, this guy's going to at least catch 800 yards worth of passes.
Yeah, I had him down for 60 and 750 and 6 scores, and he didn't even sniff those numbers. I mean,
Right.
I went the low side on it. He had a few big moments at Philly, at Washington, but they were few and far between. He was a good teammate, good soldier. He likes being in that locker room. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
He'll never say it, but obviously this wasn't the role he thought he was going to fill.
No.
He didn't have a role. So why didn't he? And here's where I think he's in trouble. There's 2 arguments working against him right now. He's a declining player. Like, you watch it, he's just not the same guy. Like, he's on the other side. I'm not saying he's out of the game, but he's a declining player. That works against him. Age, declining player. That's number one. He was healthy this year, so that was a non-issue. But the second part, and this is really what puts him into a tough spot. Why didn't he play more? It's because they were trying to run the football, and he couldn't block. They did not trust him to block, not even to put him in heavy personnel sets to just be basically set screens as a blocker. He didn't play. Adam Troutman played way more snaps than Ingram. Nate Atkins was playing in front of Renck. So why? That's my point of, if that's what it's going to be, why would you bring Ingram back? You'd be better off eating it, moving on, and drafting the kid from Oregon, Kenyon Sadiq, bring in a young tight end than to pay Ingram. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, now numbers do come into play here.
No, there's a real hit.
He is set to get paid $14 million. The dead cap is over 10. This is like a Russell Wilson thing where, you're eating a ton to not have him on your roster.
And they may decide ultimately we're going to have a better role for him, understand the fit. We're going to have to talk to him about getting him into the run game in a way that allows him to be on the field. But you're right. It's not easy. I'm just saying the way they used him, Eric, how would you rationalize bringing him back? Like, so is it Payton saying, I'm going to scheme for him? And part of it was Bo Nix. If you go back and watch the film, to be fair to Payton, Bo Nix never threw to Ingram unless he was the primary target on a play. So what I'm saying is anytime the play broke down, he never threw to Ingram. That's not on Payton. That's a Bo Nix thing. And so would that relationship develop to where he catches 15, 20 more balls? But he was never like, it's the play breaks down and it's Sutton, it's Frank, it's anybody but Evan Ingram. That's not entirely on Payton.
Right.
But the usage is. It's hard, and he has to be on the field long enough, Eric, so he's not a tell. Everyone's like, just throw to Ingram. Like, okay, every time he's in the game, you just throw to him?
I'm gonna give you a little pushback on that for this reason. I talked to somebody who's as close to the team as you can get without being inside the organization. And he said to me, Bo just doesn't like throwing to tight ends. And
that's
you
part
look,
of it.
Okay, but that's not true. That's not true. Because when you look at him in Oregon, even though he had some pretty good wide receivers, he used Terrence Ferguson plenty. He used his tight ends plenty. Not a ton, but more than enough, where you would never make the accusation that Bo Nix doesn't like to throw to tight ends.
He doesn't like to throw to tight ends in this scheme. He loved it at Oregon.
Okay, well, who develops the scheme? Who puts together the scheme? Maybe Sean needs to scheme better for his tight ends in order for Bo to say, yeah, I want to throw to that guy.
Right, but how do you get him on the field if you want to run heavy personnel more? That's the issue.
Well, how did he do it with Jimmy Graham?
He flexed him out, and Jimmy Graham and Shockey were way better than Ingram at this point.
Well, we saw Ingram flexed out a lot in training camp. We didn't see him flexed out a lot. It was kind of like, to come full circle with the show, they talked a lot about outside zone, which, by the way, would have been perfect against the Buffalo Bills. I know that they beat the Bills, but that would have been perfect to run against those guys. So they practiced things at the beginning of training camp that they never used at the end of the season. Square that circle for me, Sean.
Yeah. I mean, and it's part of this autopsy they've got to do on this offense, because Sean Payton has done everything right as a culture builder. He's done a million things right to get them back to where they are clearly relevant and they're a contender. No matter what you think of them, they are back. But for them to take the next step, it's got to happen offensively, and that's on Sean. That's on Sean. And the thing that people don't realize, he hasn't had a great offense since basically 2019. It's been a long time since he's had a great offense. For basically 15 years, he had the best offenses in the NFL. It's switched. Some of it obviously is no Drew Brees, duh. But where does he fall in this? I just think he needs to look at how he's run his operation. Can he use motion more than line changes? Can he get the play in faster? Like, there's the real things that I think need to be addressed as you're trying to go from the 14th best scoring offense at 23.8 to getting to that number like a 7th best offense scoring. Like, that's not going to happen just because of personnel. I think you have to look long and hard. To your point, we saw Ingram against the Cardinals in preseason. Like, holy crap, I like that. We never saw a hint of that other one play against Washington. It was really run after catch. How does he incorporate if you keep Ingram? What does the run game look like? Because if you're going to run, you have to be able to run not only when you want to, but when you have to. They had to run on 4th and 1, Eric. And you know why they ended up putting the ball in Stidham's hands, because he didn't trust the run game.
Let me throw something at you real quick, and then we got to run. Why not do what Sean McVay's doing? Throw 3 tight ends out there.
I agree. I love it. And here's to your point, which I'm glad you brought that up. Go back and watch Sean McVay's offenses like 3 years ago. They look nothing like this.
Right.
That's why I'm saying, like, and he's really good friends with Sean McVay.
Yeah.
Maybe you have that discussion of, man, let's evolve this in a way that we are no longer dependent on 3 and 4 person subs and line changes. We're going to create it through motion and having 3 tight ends. They have Higbee, they have Parkinson, they have Ferguson. The Broncos don't have one guy like that. So maybe that's not realistic, but I love what you're saying. I would like to see them make some fundamental shifts in how they run the offense as they try to become a championship team.
Excuse the pun from Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. But Sean McVay as an offensive coordinator is evolving and heating. Sean Payton as an offensive coordinator might be cooling. That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes, Goodman and Renck. Make it the best possible day you can.